Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk again and dive into a lot of detail about sensory motor OCD, also called somatic OCD, also called hyperawareness. But in theory, it is just the fear of noticing a sensation for the rest of your life, and that plays out into your avoidance behaviors and your compulsive behaviors and that automatic rumination that you feel like the manual style of breathing. Nick, why does it feel like I'm manually breathing? Nick, why does it feel like I'm manually swallowing and salivating? Why does it feel like I'm trying to control my heartbeat? All of that is happening because you are scared of noticing that sensation for the rest of your life. And it is important to remember before I start the video in detail that not noticing the sensation is one of the reasons why we stay stuck. This is what bothered me for so long with sensory motor OCD. The fear, the belief that I never want to notice my sensations ever again was really keeping me back when I started to realize that it wasn't the sensation itself, but the fear of noticing the sensation for the rest of my life that was really keeping me in that place I didn't want to be, which was stuck with sensory motor OCD, where I stayed for a long time. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below, let me know if this is something you struggle with. I'm going to primarily gear this video to breathing, and we're going to go from there. So this is going to be a really good video. I hope it's a help to some of you sensory motor sufferers out there, because there is a lot of poor information on sensory motor recovery. So number one, what is sensory motor OCD? If you're here, you more than likely have sensory motor OCD, or maybe you want to learn, or maybe you don't have OCD and you're trying to learn things of how to apply it with people you work with. So sensory motor is this. It is the fear of noticing a sensation for the rest of your life and it ruining your weddings, your anniversaries, the birth of your child, your birthday parties, going out to concerts, ruining everything, not being able to work, and eventually living your life in this small confined box, whether that's in your room or in, on your couch watching Netflix, and those really comfort traps and avoidance behaviors that all of us fall into. Now, so before I talk about the breathing OCD and why it feels manual and stuff like that, there are a couple things I do want to talk about. Some of the most common mistakes I see with breathing OCD recovery advice. Number one, nobody ever needs to expose themselves to their breathing. Now, what do I mean by this? You're going to breathe for the rest of your life. When you're not breathing, you're dead. That's the best way to say it. So the idea that you need to expose yourself to your breathing even more doesn't make a lot of sense, and I'll tell you why. Every sensory motor person I work with, and I work with a lot of them, I always ask them, why are you, say, sucking through a straw? Why are you meditating to your sensation? And like clockwork, they tell me, because if I just habituate to it, I'll never notice it again. Or maybe you've been given this approach. Well, everyone breathes. Breathing is a normal thing. I've had people I work with, breathing, salivation, swallowing, heartbeat. Those are the big ones, blinking. They'll be like, well, I just tell myself all the time, it's okay to blink. It's okay to salivate. But if that worked, you would be recovered. But you're not recovered because you are scared of being stuck forever. That is the OCD cycle of sensory motor. The snowball is going down the hill, and the avoidance behaviors and the compulsions are setting in stone because you are afraid of noticing the sensation forever and it ruining the rest of your life. So guess what I have? The first book on the reading list. How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything. And we're going to jump all the way to chapter 12. If you have the English version, it is page 96, 97. Okay? This is really good. I got a lot of good feedback on this. And we're going to go through this together. So, number one is the activating event. Now, remember, a lot of people and everyone thinks that A equals C. Activating events equal emotional consequence. I'll give you an example. That person cut me off on the road, so that's why I'm angry. Not really. The person cutting you off on the road is not why you're angry. It played a factor of frustration, but the reason you got chronically angry and maybe rageful and wanted to have vengeance is because of the belief you held in that situation. Activating events are only partly responsible for the emotional consequence, more so in others primarily, but the belief is the strongest thing. So activating event, okay? Let's say developing sensory motor OCD. And then what are you most disturbed with is that noticing my breathing for the rest of my life is going to ruin the rest of my life. I can't concentrate. Oh, I hear all these people. If you're not present in the moment that your life is over, that the present moment is the only thing that matters. Okay? What is the irrational belief that you hold? So inside the rational beliefs, which everyone holds irrational beliefs, what is an irrational belief? Something that can't be proven or falsified, something that has no universal principle or law that we can prove through scientific method, something that is an overgeneralization that can differ from culture to culture, black and white thinking, primarily every single belief system that everyone holds all the time. So demands, awfulizing, frustration, intolerance, self-downing, other downing, and life downing. So, irrational belief. If I notice my breathing for the rest of my life will be ruined, my life will be over, I'll never be able to enjoy anything ever again, I might as well not be here anymore, and all the things that go with that. So let's dispute that belief, okay? So when you're disputing your irrational beliefs, in this book, there are a plethora of different tactics, I would say, to apply to your belief system to break it down. But it's not in the way you imagine. You don't just read this, assimilate the knowledge, and go, bah, and then you recover. That's not how OCD recovery works. It takes a little bit more forethought than that, and it's the behavioral changes. As I always say, insight is not enough. Everyone knows in this day and age that smoking 2 packs of cigarettes every day, and eating 2 pounds of bacon every day might not be the best thing for your health. But they continue to do it because the behavioral changes is a very important part of that, including bringing the fear down in the irrational beliefs. So let's break down, where is holding this belief getting me? Remember, the belief is, if I notice my sensations for the rest of my life, if I notice my breathing, if my breathing feels automatic, my life is ruined forever. So is it helpful or getting me into trouble? Of course, this belief is getting you into trouble, and it's not helpful because it's creating all these avoidance behaviors because we have what's called the low frustration tolerance. And we think if we notice these sensations for the rest of my life, our life is ruined. Bum, 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 bum. Is it really awful? No, it's frustrating, but it's not awful because awful means 100% bad. Awful means always bad. Quote I always talk about is the Buddha quote. Life is suffering. I don't agree with that. Life has suffering. At some point in time, whether it's a physical suffering or a mental suffering, unless you pass away in, say, a motor vehicle accident unsuspectingly, most people have suffering in their life to a degree, whether it's you suffering or you're watching someone suffer, so you mentally suffer because you're watching a loved one. So is it really awful? No, because life, again, as I just said, has suffering, but it's not complete suffering. You might not have all the moments you'd like to enjoy right now, but you could still enjoy some moments. There was many moments I enjoyed, even when I was chronically anxious, even when I was noticing my sensations all of the time. Okay. Can I really not stand it? No, because you have stood it. You're here watching my video. You're watching Nick's video, all my other videos, talking about how I was in the mental hospital because I didn't know what was going on. Again, 99.9% of people don't need to go to a mental hospital with OCD when they have the tools. Hence why I produce all this content. Boom, boom, boom. Getting it out there, really important. I always tell people unconditional self-acceptance isn't really the applicable disputing technique for sensory motor. Most people, I always laugh when I talk to sensory motor people. We're not really walking around going, oh my God, I'm such a terrible person, like with a harm OCD or a POCD. It's really conditional life acceptance. That's the main thing. So what are the major, in the C, so remember the activating events, the beliefs that we just talked about, the if I notice my breathing for the rest of my life is ruined, equals the C, the emotional consequences. Number one, what is the unhealthy negative emotion? Chronic panic, chronic anxiety, chronic depression. Depression, anxiety, everything we just, panic, perpetuated by belief systems, primarily, okay? When things happen in your life that are unfortunate, like develop sensory motor OCD, when you think everything in your life is going great, and all of a sudden it's not, this is important to look at that unhealthy emotional consequence. Then what are the unhealthy behavioral patterns, also part of the consequence? You're avoiding things. So let's go breathing, right? It's the best one. You're not going to the gym anymore. You're not going hiking. You are distracting yourself. You're trying to relabel your breathing such as everyone breathes. So it's normal to breathe. No, the person I was working with told me that breathing's okay. But no, why am I still scared? No, why am I still panicking? It's because you're scared of being stuck forever. So your worst case scenario, your WC, worst case scenario, WCS, is if I notice my breathing for the rest of my life is absolutely ruined. Now let's go to your effective new philosophy. What you want to change this to over time. 15 minutes of this sheet every other day, once a day. Rest of your day is allowing all the rumination, all the automatic anxiety sensations, intrusive images, thought sensations, all of that to play out like if this coat had a little bit of a stick in it and it was just hitting me all day long. That you don't dispute in the moment. You don't have to relabel your breathing, and you don't have to talk to yourself. But we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So remember what we said. Disputing the irrational belief. The irrational belief, if I notice my breathing for the rest of my life is ruined. The new philosophy, I would really like to not notice my breathing, but if I notice it for the rest of my life, I can still enjoy a reasonable, happy life. And shit, I can hike, I can hang out with my friends, I can jump around at music festivals, I can do a lot of things that other people can't do. There are people that would trade their life for me in 1 second in order to do everything they want to do physically. Physical pain, crazy cases of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, crazy cases of ataxia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative diseases, things where people have basically no hope or very little hope. We have so much hope. You can suffer at the highest degree of physical sensations, chronic shame, chronic guilt, chronic sensory motor, and still do everything you want to do whilst not enjoying the most of it. That's very important to talk about. So, your new healthy emotion, you want it to be frustration, not anger, resentment, depression, chronic rage, chronic anxiety, all that, chronic shame, guilt. You would want to turn those unhealthy emotions from the irrational belief, remember, irrational belief, turn it to an effective new philosophy, and then it creates a new emotional outcome. So that is how you break that down with this. Now, let's talk about breathing compulsions. Number 1, automatic internal thermometer measuring that I always talk about. This is the thermometer. This thermometer is going to flicker all day. Am I noticing my breathing here? Is it too much there? Am I noticing my anxiety? Oh, am I breathing more in this situation? Am I not breathing enough? Do I have to go to the medical doctor and get my breathing test? Do I have to do a respiratory test? Do I have to have a spirometer? Blah, 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 blah. That's how it works. That all needs to play out whilst you bring the core fear down. The internal thermometer, the automatic rumination, automatic sensation, hyper-awareness, will fire on autopilot until you bring the fear down. That is the absolute key for bringing down sensory motor. Now, why does it feel like you're automatically breathing? It's not because you forgot how to breathe, because if you forgot how to breathe and you wouldn't breathe, you would be dead. Hence why your life isn't ruined, because you're alive. If your life was ruined, your life would be over. You would be dead, because that's the definition of your life being ruined in 100% capacity. That is important, hence why Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, is on the reading list, because we could break down those things. So, it's going to feel like you're going to automatically breathe forcefully, like you can't catch your breath. You need to wear that like an uncomfortable coat. Yes, I know how uncomfortable that is. I was there for years. I know exactly what that feels like, day in, day out, every second of the day to some degree. But it's also important to realize that it's not as present 24/7 as you imagine. When you're healthily distracted at work or going to the movies with your friends, building the life structures that actually substantiate healthy life structures and healthy distractions, not relabeling, not refocusing. Trust me, if you're watching this with breathing OCD, salivation, swallowing, blinking, heartbeat, whatever it is, hyper-awareness of your consciousness, hyper-awareness of your movements, anything that would be classified in sensory motor OCD, you and I both know you can't relabel shit, because you are so scared of being stuck for the rest of your life. That is very important to talk about. It's something that keeps many people stuck, and I understand what that feels like. So you got to wear the automatic rumination. Remember, the internal thermometer flaring up, down, all day long. As time goes on, that starts to flicker less. Less frequency, less severity. Then you have a relapse. Then it flickers all over the place. Then you make some progress, have a perspective shift. Then it fires higher than it's like all the way up here now. Oh my God, I made no progress, and blah, blah, blah. This is the part of the journey that confuses the fuck out of everyone, because there's many ups and downs. I'm just laughing now, thinking about what I was saying when it comes to sensory motor OCD. When I was joking, a lot of people make fun of me for this in the video. I was talking about, I think, acceptance, and I said, buckle the fuck down. And a lot of people now just tag me in that quote because it was hilarious. So it is super important to know that, to realize that automatic rumination, the forceful manual breathing is going to happen until the fear comes down. It's going to feel like that. I work with plenty of breathing people. Everyone I've worked with breathes. I've worked with plenty of people with breathing sensory motor OCD. I work with people who breathe. Nick, no shit. Everyone breathes. I know. So that is hilarious. It just, we gotta have fun. We gotta laugh, because we don't laugh, we don't make fun of ourselves at times. It can be a really lonely journey sometimes. And I know what that's like. I really do. But it doesn't need to be, because you can watch my videos. You can get better. You can read the books in the reading list. You can go to our webinars, coaching services, whatever you want to do. We can help you, instill the tools and the insights. You got to walk through that journey yourself. You got to bring down the avoidance behaviors, which is the last thing I want to talk about. If you're avoiding the gym because you're hyper aware of your breathing, walking, intimacy is another one. If you're avoiding intimacy with your partner, if you're avoiding anything where you would be hyper aware of your breathing, that will need to come down. Okay? Because the more you do that, the more you stay in the fear cycle, and then that goes on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. First book on the reading list. This is probably the most applicable. Then I would say Claire Weeks's Self-Help for Your Nerves and Paul David's At Last a Life are really good with learning how to wear the discomfort of sensory motor, because the majority of your journey is wearing that discomfort like an uncomfortable coat whilst you bring the fear down. So remember, OCD recovery is not linear. It's not up and down. It's like, woo, it's like, oh my God, I'm making progress. Boom. Oh boy, I made the most progress. Boom. Oh wow. Oh, boom. That's literally what it's like. It's like that for basically everyone. If you have breathing OCD now, I had multiple different, I had saliva, I had blinking, I had swallowing, I had finger hyper-awareness, belt line hyper-awareness. So be reasonable. If it morphs, it morphs. Allow it to morph. When it's morphing, how you doing? When it's morphing. When it's morphing, you don't have to tell everyone every single time. You can allow yourself to be confused. That is important. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you don't agree. I always like talking about that stuff. And if you have any questions for me, this is a very important topic to me. I have very key insight because I am out the other side. And I know what it's like to feel like there's no hope, to like, oh shit, there's kind of hope, to, oh wow, there's a lot of hope. Wait a second, there's no hope. Wait, there's so much hope. Oh my God, do I have to go back to a mental hospital? And then eventually to where I am now, which is fully recovered from sensory motor OCD. And again, that does not mean you never notice your sensations again. It just means there's no fear cycle. It means that you, even if it came back, it still wouldn't be the end of the world. It could come back right now, 20, 30%, and you could still live your life. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below, like that video, helps get it out there. And as always, have a great day.